Hello and welcome. It's not often that we get to meet community leaders who serve their people with honesty and don't expect to get anything in return. But the township of Alexandra in northern Johannesburg has produced such a leader. The name Linda Twala has become synonymous with selflessness. More than 30 years after Linda put his life on the line to save Alexandra from being demolished, his struggle to improve his community goes on.
When I grew up in Alex, those days, there were no tarred roads and we're using bucket system. Because I was born and brought up here, I just enjoyed every moment of it. I was just unfortunate because I am not a graduate and I couldn't go to high school because of my poor background.
But Linda Twala was not prepared to let poverty stand in the way of making his beloved home of Alexandra a better place. His inspiration comes from his mother, who raised him with two guiding principles: discipline and generosity. These lessons from home shaped Linda to become a generous man, even at a time when he couldn't afford much.
In 1967, I buried an old lady by the name of Rosie Shabalala, who used to come to my mother's home, when she was asking for food. And whenever she saw me, she used to say to me, "You're going to bury me one day." I made a coffin out of wood because I loved woodcraft when I was still young.
His love of helping others gave birth to Linda's coffin-making business. But times were uncertain.
When our freedom comes along, when our freedom...
It was during the 1970s, at the height of apartheid. Communities like Alex were seen as unacceptable black spots in the middle of the whites-only suburbs and faced being bulldozed to the ground. Linda and others fiercely resisted the destruction of their homes.
I then started printing the shirts that were written, "Help Save Alexandra."
The go-slows, the Azikwelwa, actually, movement forged actually the people together. Once you have joint symbols, joint meanings, then you've got this collective consciousness of a people. So Alexandra had a particular consciousness of itself in a similar way like Sophia Town used to.
The success of their campaign created excitement among the residents of Alexandra, but it also brought trouble for activists like Linda. By 1986, this highly respected businessman had built a big house, a clinic and a community center in his family yard. But shockingly, state security forces bombed the building with hand grenades.
As I was coming down, I could see the flame, that was my home, because it was a big home, with a garage and that mini clinic that we had, which was helping people. And when I got here, people were busy fighting the fire brigades because they were not putting out the fire, because they got the instructions from the police that they should not do that. My 3 daughters were in the house, were saved by my dog's kennel, but my dogs were killed and my cars were all bombed, and it was sad.
Linda's heart broke to see everything he had worked for razed to the ground. But he refused to let this senseless act break his fighting spirit.
After it was bombed, there was the Rotary group of Rosebank who came forward to help, They put up this lovely building that you see. We now have a beautiful clinic and doctors' rooms and reception areas.
And he didn't stop there. He got philanthropists from around the world involved to help expand the center. It has a state-of-the-art clinic, a shelter for the elderly, and even a library. And to top it all, he also got to build this skills center to help stem poverty in the troubled community of Alexandra.
Now we have another center at the back which is called a Center of Excellence, whereby we are trying to get our children off the streets to come and learn computers, to come and learn skills, and others are learning music.
I realize there's more to life than receiving. I think we find fulfillment when we give out, when we serve others, and that is how it has inspired me, because I started getting more involved with the community.
We cannot look upon the government as the Messiah that's going to deliver everything. We've got to do things on our own. Vuvuzenzele, wake up and do things on your own.
There you have it. We salute you, Mr. Twala, for your selflessness. Remember, we always love to hear from you against all odds at enca.com. You can also be in touch with us on Twitter and Facebook. Still to come, a shoestring budget movie takes South Africa's film industry to new heights.
born and brought up in Alexandra. I couldn't further my education because of the poor background that I come from. We started as Alexandra Society for the Care and Welfare of the Aged, which gave birth to Putadichaba, the organization we are running now, because Putadichaba in English means gathering nations. I inherited the work that I do from my mother, who died at the age of 100. When I took over, the first old lady I had buried, it was in 1967. When we started, we had a tin shack of a clinic, and we used to hold meetings in a garage, which was my garage. But then unfortunately it was bombed by police in 1986 because of my political involvement. Ma-Africa Tikkun helped us to renovate more than 500 houses. Rotary helped us to put up a proper clinic, a library, a sewing room, and a boardroom. I said to them, if only we could try our level best in talking to the government that they shouldn't build more jails. Let them build more centers of excellence so that our children can be skilled, get skills, computer illiterate, and get the best. Let us not look at the government as the Messiah that's going to deliver or give handouts to us. I still feel that we can still do more in our townships by making sure that we create jobs. At the end of the day, you can put a plate on your table. We've got a committee of the elephants, that's now the Mandela's age. And then we've got a committee of the lions, that's my age group. And then we've got a committee of the leopards, that's Warren's group.
I grew up in Putadichaba benefiting and feeling the warm love that Mr. Twala gave to us, including my family as well. He inspires me to be a legend in my community, to do better for my community. I could have been a lawyer, I could have been a politician, but for me, his work is greater than anything on earth.
Those that are now in Parliament, I'd like them not to forget where they come from. There's so much to be done in this country, blacks and whites. If we do this together, I think we can make it.
Africa Tikkun saves and transforms lives. In this video, you will meet 3 young South African men. They share backgrounds of misfortune, disconnected families, and a lack of opportunities that would squash the spirit of even the most positive soul. Similar predicaments, but a similar resilient spirit.
I was living with my sisters in 2009. And my mother has passed away. 2011, that's the time where I started to live alone.
Nyiko Ngobeni started fending for himself when he was only in grade 10 at the age of 16, living in the midst of Diepsloot, one of the most notorious townships of Johannesburg. This is a community with a majority of people living in abject poverty and high unemployment rates marred by high levels of crime.
Like I was undisciplined actually in my school. That's why I failed grade 10. I didn't have no one who can say, Yiko, wake up, go to school.
Sanele Ntuli is being raised by his grandparents in Orange Farm, south of Johannesburg. He was teased and ousted from a soccer team for not being good enough. Struggling at school, he sought peer approval by getting engulfed in the wrongdoings of the community.
I live with my grandmother and my grandfather now. And my father, he don't support me. Nganye no baba, kahle kahle ubaba bengamazi kahle kahle.
Pumzile Valishia comes from a family of 7 and lives with his unemployed grandmother and mother with 4 siblings under one shack roof. His father lives in Eastern Cape, 524 miles from the dusty streets of Orange Farm. Only his sister is employed and supporting the rest of the family.
The community that I live in is a very pure community because it's not a developed community. There's still much to do. Most people are still living in shacks today. They don't have houses.
Being in the right place and meeting the right people can change one's life immeasurably. These 3 young men were introduced to Africa Tikkun at different stages of their lives. Through Africa Tikkun's education programs, life skills programs, sports and recreations programs, and social services programs, the immense gaps in these young men's lives are being filled. These 3 young men's involvement in holistic programs have taught them the importance of discipline, perseverance, and dreaming big.
I try to manage, like, if I've eaten enough at Africa Tikkun, okay, today I'm not cooking, I'm saving for tomorrow. I've started to get a food parcel from Africa Tikkun every month so that I can save a month, and I've started to learn how to budget myself. But last year, I've managed to go to school very well and pass my grade 10. I want to be a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer. So actually now I'm doing like a mechanic. I've achieved a lot in sports, like I've run for my school. They didn't know that I'm a best cyclist. On cycling, I can be something because I've realized that I saw my first coach going to London. And this bicycle came like, it was a surprise to me because this bike is introduced to a whole school. It was like a prize.
Sanele cannot believe the confidence he has gained inside to man up and face his school and social challenges with support from Africa Tikkun.
I started my research and then I found Africa Tikkun here, that there is a cycling sports here, and then I've joined it, and then the bad things I'm buying Zazet.
Phumzile still dreams of becoming a sports journalist someday and inspiring the youth in his community.
By me doing swimming, which is different from other people in my community, I think it can open up opportunities for me. If you do one of the same thing, you get the same results. So if you do something different, who knows what you'll get at the end of the day. I want to change the lifestyle that I'm living today.
In 2013, Africa Tikkun was able to reach over 17,000 beneficiaries, with many achieving their dreams at various stages of development. We couldn't have done it without you. You are indeed changing the face of South Africa.
My time is coming. I want to thank Africa Tikkun and Safe Light for giving me this opportunity.
I'm very lucky as a black person that I can swim, and my wish is that one day come back to my community and prove the swimming skills. I'd just like to thank Duduzi, my mentor, Arikopaneng Center for giving me this opportunity, and mostly my mother for teaching me respect.
Africa Tikkun, as we are helping many communities, I want to learn to help people like you. Nyabonga we Africa Tikkun.
3 ambassadors from a world most of us cannot comprehend, representing us and our country at the Safe Light Challenge in Las Vegas, with the aim of helping out many others from their community, is more than something to be proud of. It's an inspiration.